I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is another paid request, this time for Andrew Patterson. Thank you so much for that. If you're interested in requesting pretty much any other type of videos or topics, reactions, reviews, anything in between, or random, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for the Nutty Professor, the original from the 1960s. It's written, directed, and starring Jerry Lewis. Now, Jerry Lewis is a guy I didn't grow up with a lot. I've seen a handful of his movies, and I knew who he is. Watch him on TV and such. But I do remember seeing this back in the day and enjoying it, and I still quite enjoyed it. And yes, I would say I enjoy this more than Eddie Murphy's film. As Jerry Lewis put it once, he thought Eddie Murphy's film had a bit too much fart jokes. I agree. Like, this is more my type of humor. And this was Jerry Lewis's baby. Like I said, he directed it, he wrote it, he starred in it. He's very proud of it. And, you know, the setup is he's a clumsy professor, blows up the class all the time. In fact, there's an explosion. They find Louis under this door that's been embedded in the ground. And I thought the humor in this, as stupid as it sounds, is a lot more subtle than you would see in Eddie Murphy's film. At least when you compare the two. Eddie Murphy's film, it's, hey, remember that bit where they're all farting on each other, and they're farting with each other, and they're farting around this, and in the sequel, remember that giant hamster that fucked the guy? This is more the humor I could deal with. Like the awkward silence where he goes sees the dean, and he's trying to get in the chair, he keeps sinking into the chair. I thought Jerry Lewis did a really nice job portraying this professor, just how clumsy and nice, and just the way he articulates the words, and how you know his accent is, and the way his teeth is more out and protruding, and the way the glasses. Because then when he turns to Buddy Love, you see a big metamorphosis. I was like, wow, okay, wow. It's because they made him such a nerdy, geeky guy. When we see the metamorphosis, it's not much more eye-popping, at least to me. That wow, Jerry Lewis could play this type of role too, sort of the Dean Martin, cool type of character. But the scene where he's meeting with the dean, and the dean's like, you know, people just don't like teachers blowing up the kids. I'm like, that's words to live by. Of course, nowadays it'd be teachers. They don't like teachers blowing their kids, but back then it was blowing up their kids. They just don't like teachers blowing their kids. Well, if I was a kid and I had a teacher do that to me, I would like it, but vice versa, no. Now, the other characters, you have Miss Purdy, played by Stella Stevens. Beautiful lady. He gets picked on by jocks. He feels embarrassed. He wants to go to the gym. And there are moments that made me chuckle. Like, in the gym, he's walking, and he actually bumps a guy, and he bumps a guy. He goes back like he was hit by a freight train. I think I broke myself. Jerry Lewis knew how to do that slapstick physical comedy fairly well. And Richard Thiel, the guy who played Jaws in the James Bond films, he's in this as a guy trying to help teach him in gym. And like I said, the humor at times is definitely more subtle and, in my opinion, more funny than Eddie Murphy's film. Like when the guy takes his glasses because he didn't want them broken, Jerry Lewis keeps talking because he's so blind he can't tell the guy's not there. So the guys walk over the glasses, he's looking at him funny because Jerry Lewis is still talking. It hasn't stopped. It doesn't notice that the guy's not there anymore. And this very goofy, cartoonish stuff. Like there's a point where he's doing the weights and his arms just pulled all the way down. Like he's Mr. Fantastic from Fantastic Four. A little later on you see him sleeping. It's still that long. But again, I was talking about the humor. Like he's trying to sneak into his lab at night. He has squeaky shoes. He takes them off and they're still squeaking. And it's like, what the fuck? So even his feet are squeaking. And what I liked about it, watch it again, is when he takes the potion, there's definitely more of a horror film feel. Because of course this is supposed to be a comedic take on Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So I like the fact that Jerry Lewis still had that little bit of a horror feel to it, at least in the scene where you have this heartbeat sound effect and it gets louder and louder and he's getting hairy arms and he's becoming more of a monster. I forgot about this, like this very creepy looking blue face, longer hair, fucked up teeth, fingernails. I said, holy shit, like I getting a bit creepy. I did with the heartbeats. I don't know, a heartbeat soundtrack for some reason always creeps me out. I've said this before. I think because when I hear a heartbeat soundtrack, I'm thinking it's my heart, and I'm like, I hope it doesn't stop. But the way that's done, and certain color schemes he uses, like when the stuff lands on the floor, I don't know, I liked the horror film feel he gave to this sequence. And then when he wakes up, and I think there's some nice direction by Jerry Lewis here, where it's this pan shot, POV, and people just look in and they're startled by him, as going from person to cop to each person. It doesn't stop, as then we enter this club. And that's a nice, granted, if you've seen the film you know what's going on, but it's a nice way of dealing suspense, where you get these startled looks, and of course they think it, oh, because he looked so horrific. No, it's because he looked so different. And I know Jerry Lewis said this was not a take on Dean Martin, but it does seem like a take on Dean Martin. Because Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis were a comedy team, and then they had a bad breakup. So Parody is this like a yeah on Dean Martin? Because Dean Martin, like, this character is more of the bad character. And, like, the character, he's not too evil. He's just a little bit of a dick. That's the best way to put it. And when I say watch it again, it's a bit more of a quaint movie compared to Eddie Murphy's film. Where, he's very good at the piano, and all the girls want him, and a guy tries to pick a fight. He's like, oh, please, Mr. Barroom Brawler, don't hurt me. And he punched the shit out of him. It was cool to see Jerry Lewis as a guy who's known for more of the clown, goofy, pratfalls. When he's Buddy Love, he plays a unique character that you rarely get to see Jerry Lewis play. And there was a nice change of pace, which is probably one of the reasons why he wanted to make this picture, was to play the Buddy Love character. play a different kind of role for him outside the norm. He's like, well, no one else is going to do this. And if no one else is going to do this, I'm going to do it myself. And as he goes from buddy love to back to the professor, it starts melding together where the voices are getting more and more unstable. And it's been so forever, I forgot. I assumed, like in the remake, it was, oh, Buddy Love wants to destroy the professor and only be by himself. No, that's something that's more of the remake. I will say, maybe that could have been, in retrospect, put into this to bring a little bit more drama to the finale, a little bit more, maybe, anxiety or distress in the finale, because it's fairly quaint. It's pretty much the voices are mixing, it's getting more unstable, and then as he's doing this for the speech, his voice turns back to normal, his looks is going back to normal, and then he's apologizing, he's pouring his heart out, and I'm kind of 50-50. On one hand, I kind of like the quaint ending where he fesses up to what he was doing, he apologizes to people, it's not this big grandiose sequence, it's quiet and makes you feel for the professor, a little bit more heartfelt. But in the remake, there is a little bit more drama to that bit. Also a lot more dealing with special effects and CGI. But I definitely prefer this over the Eddie Murphy. And I love Eddie Murphy, but not because of the Nutty Professor. I'm sorry. Now, I do have issues with the film. There's a flashback that he has about his mom and dad, where his mom was harsh, his dad was a wussy. And it cuts to Jerry Lewis as a kid, but it's literally Jerry Lewis dressed as a kid. I don't think you needed that. You could have just hire a kid. But to see Jerry Lewis in kitty garb and going, poor dada. I don't think you need that. It's supposed to be silly. It's just more stupid and groan-inducing. Like, what? This is fucking dumb. Like, that reaction. I don't really think you needed that. You could have just had a regular kid. You have the kid go, poor dada. Then you cut to Jerry Lewis going, poor dada. I think that would have been more effective. And less stupid or just weird. The ending was a bit weird too, because after that is a very heartfelt speech about, I liked some of the dialogue. I don't want to be something I'm not. You might as well like yourself. Just think about all the time you don't have to spend with you. I thought that was a nice line of dialogue. It really does get into the, don't try to be someone else, be yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. Sorry about that. I had to get a spider. And I would have stopped the video, but I'm like, it is what it is. And now I feel bad, but for me, I had to do it. I'll probably forget to cut this out. So yeah, I did kill a spider. I feel bad about it. Because on a tangent, I kind of one of those guys, I want to take something and grab and just let it outside, but, just spur of the moment thing, so, fuck. Anyway, I know that's stupid. Getting back to this with the ending to the film, the thing that, a little bit, because it ends with a heartfelt speech. Miss Purdy's like, hey, I like you the way you are. But then, as the movie goes on, he's teaching class again, and his parents come by, and his parents got the formula, and now the dad is more standing up for himself, and the mom is not giving so much gruff to the dad. And they sound the formula off. And in fact, when Jerry Lewis and Miss Purdy leave, she's got a couple bottles in back of her of the formula. And so that made me a bit confused because it's this whole thing of the formula, don't take the formula, be yourself, or her filled speech, and then the end kind of negates that. Like, well, wait a minute. You should have these take the formula? And Miss Purdy has the formula? Is she going to give that to Jerry Lewis so that will he turn to Buddy Love again? Or you turn for Buddy Love every other night or on the weekends? Or is it supposed to be a formula that's diluted so it's not as prevalent? I was a bit confused by the ending, and it almost kind of negates the message of what the movie's about. I mean, if you're saying, no, it's wrong to do this formula, be yourself, then why have an ending where the parents are selling the formula and then Miss Purdy has the formula in back of her shirt? It just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like, so was that message negated? I don't know. So I wasn't really big on that ending, that part of the ending. I said the flashback with him as a kid, but it's him, but dressed as a... I don't think it was needed. But yeah, the rest of the movie, I thought Jerry Lewis did a great job as the Nutty Professor. His hygiene, his physicality, the way he looked, the way he spoke. It's not, I mean, when people think of a nerdy character, their mind probably goes to that without realizing it. You know, that voice, that look. And as Buddy Love, he did a good job as well. He was committed to that part, to that role. I said the girl who plays Miss Purdy was very pretty. I wouldn't say there's really anything deep about her character, though. Maybe a bit more dialogue could be written to develop her character a little bit. The music was fine. It was energetic, especially the opening credits, showcasing the Nutty Professor titles as he's teaching class and he's doing all these things where it's overflowing all the test tubes, doing things wrong more and more so. Definitely brings a certain energy to the proceedings. And it did get some chuckles out of me. It did get some laughs out of me watch it again. So overall, I did like the Nutty Professor, watch it again. Yeah, it was still fun. I wouldn't say I loved it, but it was still a fun film. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.